Ellen Drew stars in Tang of Autumn from the stage of the Hollywood Radio Theater. The Hollywood Radio Theater is happy to present the lovely and talented star of motion pictures, Ellen Drew, in the delightful comedy Tang of Autumn, produced by C.P. McGregor.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to a seat front row center for another exciting evening here in the Hollywood Radio Theater. The name of Drew has long been a famous one in the theater, and having chosen it as her professional name, our star tonight, Miss Ellen Drew, proceeded to give this traditionally great name of the theater modern impetus in the motion pictures. You'll remember Miss Drew for many splendid performances, most recently in the two Paramount pictures, Dark Mountain and The Imposter. Last year, Miss Drew went overseas in a convoy to entertain our troops in England and to be with her husband, Major Cy Bartlett. We'll ask Miss Drew how it feels to cross the Atlantic in a convoy right after the show. But now, let's call for curtain up on the first act of tonight's delightful comedy, Tang of Autumn, starring Ellen Drew. Our scene, the exceedingly private offices of the firm of Blatz, Blitz, and Blutz, ladies' clothiers. Mr. Blutz, senior partner, is waiting at his desk as a very attractive young lady enters.
You sent for me, Mr. Blutz?
Oh, yes, Miss Sterling. Do sit down, Miss Sterling.
Is there anything wrong, Mr. Blutz?
What? No, not at all, my dear, not at all. Quite the contrary, in fact. We are putting you on a very special assignment.
Oh, really? What sort of an assignment?
For 1 week, you will model our most expensive gowns for Mr. Walters. Mr. J. Hubert Walters of Walters Stores Incorporated.
Exactly what do you mean, Mr. Blutz?
Now, all you do is wear each different gown in the setting appropriate to it. For instance, during the cocktail hour, you will wear our dry martini number. Mr. Walters will be your escort and note the public reaction. And I may add, if that reaction is favorable...
You mean, Mr. Blutz, I'm to go out with this stranger?
Don't misunderstand, Miss Sterling. Blotz, Blitz, and Blutz would never ask an employee of their firm to run the slightest moral risk. Mr. Walters has no vices.
He must be very old.
Miss Sterling, age is of no consequences. Mr. J. Hubert Walters is a customer and a gentleman. Besides, there's the matter of your commission.
Sold. One Sally Sterling to a customer and a gentleman for a commission.
Why, Miss Sterling.
I'm sorry, Mr. Blutz, but you must excuse me if I'm not crazy with joy. You see, all my life I've prayed for a week just like this. 1 week out of life when I had nothing to do but be glamorous. Wear the clothes I've always wanted to wear and go the places I've always wanted to go. And now, thanks to Blitz, Blatz, and Blutz, I'm going to, on a commission basis and with a man who has no vice.
Miss Sterling!
Coming. I'd have known he'd be on time. How do you do? Oh!
Miss Sterling?
Why, yes. You're not by any chance Mr. Walters.
I am. I hope I'm not late.
Oh, no, you're not late. In fact, you're on time, but... But
what, Miss Sterling?
Well, I thought you were quite old, and instead you're... Oh, dear.
Miss Sterling, we might as well be frank with each other from the beginning. This is strictly a business arrangement.
Whatever you say, Mr. Walters. But just one moment. I must get my little black book.
Your little black book?
Yes. You see, I'm a businesswoman, too. I must make the proper entries, you know. From 5 p.m. till 7 p.m., modeling dry martini number for Walters Store Incorporated. I am ready, Mr. Walters.
Your order, sir?
Well, I don't know.
2 dry martinis. To go with the gown, Mr. Walters.
You see, Miss Sterling, I don't drink.
2 martinis, waiter.
Very good.
But I don't...
I know you don't drink. But suppose, just once, for the gesture.
Very well, Miss Sterling.
And the dress. Do you like it? Green chartreuse suede with a gremlin hat. A tricorn with a jaunty feather.
Well, I don't think I've seen a dress quite like that. What is a gremlin hat?
You've never heard of a gremlin? Mr. Walters, I'm surprised at you. Look, here on my lapel. This is a gremlin.
Oh, a little man. Strange little man.
Yes, and the buttons are widgets. A baby gremlin.
Your martini, sir?
Miss Sterling, if I didn't know better, I'd say you'd already had your martini.
Oh, but surely you know about the gremlins. They live in the air and by the sea. They whip up a souffle out of the north wind and drink a grog the mermaids brew, and they torment the pilots of ships and planes. They sleep through the warm, dull months of summer and come out in the fall when the first wind rises. Don't you love the wind, Mr. Walters?
Hadn't thought about it.
There's something about that first crisp, cold bite of the fall wind that goes to my head like champagne.
Really, Miss Sterling,
It's the tang of autumn in the air. It makes me feel extravagant and carefree and reckless.
Good heavens.
Surely it must affect you a little.
Yes, it reminds me that we must change our window displays and prepare for the Christmas shopping season.
Don't you ever think of anything except business?
Miss Sterling, when one is building a career, one's responsibilities are very great. Leisure for emotional indulgence is an economic waste.
What a dreary life you must have.
Oh, it's not in the least dreary. There's golf and a little bridge. And...
Mr. Walters, isn't there something very special that you'd rather do than anything in the world?
No, there isn't.
Well, isn't there anything that you really love to do?
Yes. There was, come to think of it, when I was just a kid. I loved to sing.
Oh, but that's wonderful. What's wrong with singing?
Well, I didn't have any voice, and I sang very loud.
Oh.
I sang in a boys' choir. My father had given a rose window to the church, so they had to ask me.
Yes.
And, well, that first Sunday I sang in chapel, I was so happy I just let loose.
Of course.
Sang my fool head off. The choir stopped, the organ stopped, but I went right on, singing louder, all by myself. And all off key.
Oh, how lovely of you.
And suddenly people laughed. They roared with laughter. I stopped then, of course. And I never sang again.
Oh, what a shame. Yes, I can understand. You were afraid people might laugh at you again.
Yes.
Mr. Walters, I'm so glad you told me that. You know, I believe you are human after all.
Miss Sterling.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Well, it's quite all right. I understand. It's almost 7 o'clock, Miss Sterling. I don't want to keep you after hours. My check, please, waiter.
Mr. Walters, please don't be angry.
I assure you I'm not in the least angry, Miss Sterling. I'm afraid I've been guilty of sentimentality. That's unforgivable. Shall I call you a cab, Miss Sterling?
Don't bother. I'm quite used to going home from work in the subway.
Miss Sterling.
Good night, Mr. Walters.
Good night.
Well, very amusing play, I thought.
Rot. Absolute rot. The psychology's all wrong.
Do you always take everything so seriously?
Well, life is serious, Miss Sterling.
And that's why it's a mistake to be serious about it. You know, the first day I went out with you, I thought there was some hope for you. Now I'm not so sure. Let's have a cigarette in the lounge.
And parade up and down among all these people?
I'm being paid to parade. Have you forgotten? This number I'm wearing is Entr'acte. Paisley print of chiffon wool, peacock blue and green colors. They'll love it.
It's not the clothes, it's you they look at.
Oh, how sweet of you to say that.
And that's so sure I like having people stare at you, particularly men.
Mr. Walters.
Not because of any personal reasons you understand, but, well, it's just the idea of the thing.
I could go out with you in a long veil like a harem woman.
Sometimes I worry about you, Miss Sterling.
Why worry about me?
I don't exactly know, except that, well, you're so flippant about things that you've got no right to be flippant about. It isn't becoming.
I suppose you think your stuffed shirt attitude towards life is becoming.
I consider it decent and self-respecting.
I suppose I'm not decent. I'm not self-respecting.
I didn't say that.
You most certainly did.
I did not. I said
I heard what you said. I heard it all too plainly.
Well, you're deliberately misunderstanding me. That's what I don't like about you.
What you don't like about me? Listen to me, Mr. J. Hubert Walters. If I weren't being paid by Blitz, Blats, and Bluts, I'd tell you what I don't like about you. And it would be plenty, believe me.
Very well. You can consider yourself fired. Now tell me. I want to hear it.
Go on, baby. Tell him. I'll put $5 on you.
Oh, good heavens. I forgot where we were.
Come on. Let's get out of here.
Miss Sterling, I'm not only surprised, I'm astounded.
At what?
Your behavior, Miss Sterling. Quarreling, staging a scene in public.
But I...
Miss Sterling, my wife and I were at the theater last night. We wanted to see for ourselves just how entry act took with the crowd. It took much too well. Miss Sterling, you're fired.
But Mr. Blutz, it was Mr. Walters.
Mr. Walters is a gentleman and a customer. You're supposed to be a working girl and a lady.
Not on the salary I get, Mr. Blutz. It can't be done.
You may collect your check at the cashier.
Oh, no, not so fast. I still have 3 more gowns to model for Walters Stores Incorporated. And these gowns were made to fit me. No one else can wear them.
Of course, perhaps I was a little hasty.
You bet you were. I'm going to wear these dresses, and I'm going to sell them, too, and collect my commission. So until Saturday night at 12 midnight, I'm still an employee of Blatz, Blitz, and Blutz.
But not one moment after that hour, Miss Sterling.
And by the way, Mr. Blutz, I'm not so sure, but what Mr. Walters' interest in me goes somewhat beyond the limits of mere business.
Miss Sterling.
Oh, don't misunderstand me, Mr. Blutz. His conduct is, unfortunately, above reproach. But before the week is out, Mr. Blutz, it isn't unthinkable that I might possibly become Mrs. J. Hubert Walters.
Oh, dear young lady, your egotism is phenomenal. Your self-satisfaction colossal.
What do you want to bet me, Mr. Blutz?
That you? Oh, I never heard of such audacity.
My trousseau?
Very well, Miss Sterling. A trousseau. Against your services for a year. Free.
It's a bet. Be seeing you, Mr. Blutz, at the altar.
Time, the next afternoon. Scene, the races, with Miss Sally Sterling smartly dressed as usual in a Blitz, Blats, and Blutz ensemble known as photo finish.
Moving up. He's into the stretch. Hubert, he's won! He's won! Good heavens, Hubert, why don't you say something? We won.
Well, I can't think of anything to say.
You're absolutely white. Don't tell me you're going to faint.
I don't know. I've never gambled before. Gosh. It's fun.
Of course it is, if you don't overdo it.
Sally, there's something I want to ask you.
Yes, Hubert. What is it?
It's about, it's about I love you.
Oh. Oh, Hubert. I knew it. I sensed it all the time. But why didn't you say so in the first place?
Well, because it doesn't run until the 4th race.
You mean it's a horse?
Well, of course. What did you think I meant?
Nothing. Nothing at all. Goodbye, Mr. Walters.
Sally, come back here. Oh, my gosh. Sally! Good morning, Sally.
Good morning, Mr. Walters.
Yesterday you called me Hubert.
I'm sorry I was familiar. Please forgive me. This dress is Windy Day, tobacco brown wool embroidered in bronze beads, a chapeau embroidered to match.
What? No gremlins?
No gremlins.
Well, I should think this would be a good day for them. Plenty of wind and a bite to the air, and there's something in your eyes.
Hubert, I think you're beginning to understand gremlins after all.
Well, a guy can learn, can't he? Come on, let's go shopping. Oh!
Hubert, there goes your hat.
Oh, let it go. What do I care about a hat on a day like this? Sally, there's something I want to ask you.
The air is wonderful, isn't it, Hubert? Even through the carbon monoxide, you can smell the sea.
Yeah, and if it weren't for the traffic, you could hear the sound of the surf.
Wonderful. Oh, Hubert, you are improving.
Oh, there's something I must ask.
Yes, Hubert. What is it?
Do you like dogs?
Oh.
I feel like buying one.
Well, there's a shop on Madison Avenue that has the duckiest little Celiums with harnesses, marked down from $150.
We'll buy one, harness, dog, and all, at $250 if they have one.
Hubert.
You know, Sally, I'm beginning to understand what you meant about the tang of autumn. It does make a fellow feel reckless. I'll tell you, we'll buy something in every shop on Fifth Avenue.
Well, it's your money, Hubert. But I only hope there's no shop that keeps elephants. Quiet Forsyth. What a name for a dog, Forsyth.
I had an uncle by that name.
I'm sure of it. Quiet Forsyth. Oh, he's adorable.
Well, there's 4 more shops.
You have so many bundles you look like Santa Claus. Oh, Hubert, I can't go in another shop. I just can't look another clerk in the face.
Oh, just one more. Here it is, too. Cartier's. Let's go.
Something I can do for you?
No, thank you. We're just looking.
No. I want a ring, an engagement ring.
Why, Hubert.
Something conservative.
Yes, sir.
But not too conservative.
On second thought, something dashing.
Yeah, the very thing, sir. The newest thing.
That's too new. Something less. Here. The perfect ring.
Try it on.
You mean... Oh, Hubert, how beautiful.
You think she'll like it?
She?
The woman I marry, I mean.
The woman you marry?
Yes, I've just discovered something. What I need in my life and in my business is a wife. And when I get back to Denver, I'll... Oh, here. Wrap up the ring. I'll take it. Yes, sir.
What you need in your... When you get back to... Oh.
And here's my check.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And here's your dog, Mr. J. Hubert Walters, and your bundles. Goodbye.
Sally! Oh, you can't do this. Come back. Be quiet, Forsyth. Sally! Shut up, Sally. I mean, Forsyth. Shut up. Oh, Sally, wait. You don't understand. Shut up.
Good morning, Mr. Blutz.
Where? What are you doing here? I thought
It's all over. I'm beginning my year of service free.
Sterling.
You won the bet. He's going to marry some mail-order wife in Denver. It wasn't me at all. I just... Oh, Mr. Blutz, I've been such a fool. I was so sure, and the worst of it is I love him.
There, now, Miss Sterling. What about the orders?
I can't face him. I just won't face him.
Mr. Blutz,
Oh, it's you.
You bet it's me. You stood me up. I made a business arrangement, and I expect it to be fulfilled.
Oh, is that so?
That's so. Now, you listen to me. You haven't fulfilled the terms of your contract. You still have one dress left to model. The time, Saturday night, from 9 until midnight. I expect that contract to be fulfilled.
Very well. I'll fulfill it. But only because I have to live a year without salary, and I'll need money, and that I'll make on your commissions. I'll be ready at 9.
Beautiful place, the Rainbow Room. Pretty high, though. I mean, 65 stories is a lot of building. If anything should happen.
I wouldn't worry. Nothing will ever happen to you.
Look, about yesterday.
How many copies do you think you'll want of this model? Geranium red taffeta. I hope it pleases you.
Miss Sterling, I've been thinking.
It's a splendid habit, Mr. Walters. and one that you seem to have cultivated to the exclusion of everything else.
I've come to a very important decision.
Really? Oh, hello.
Who did you speak to?
Oh, a man.
Well, I wish you'd pay some attention to me. I've something I want to ask you.
You want to bet on another horse?
No, I want to... Well, what I've been trying to say is, will you marry me?
Of course, Mr. Walters. Anything... What did you say?
Well, if you'd stop ogling all the men in this room and pay attention to me for a minute...
I'm not ogling all the men in the room.
Well, you're ogling one of them. And I've seen him someplace before, too. And I don't like him.
I'm not sure I care whether you like him or not. He has nice eyes and nice teeth, and he seems to be lonely. And my work is over at 12 o'clock, and I don't...
He's the man in the theater lobby.
That's right. Isn't he adorable?
He's obnoxious. And if he smiles at you once again, I'll smash his face in.
Well, it's hardly his fault. I smiled at him first.
Well, I can't very well smash your face in.
Not at the salary I'm earning at Blitz, Blatz, and Blutz. Or was earning.
I've asked you to marry me, and as my wife...
Why don't you pick up a wife in Denver like you planned? You'd save railroad fare.
But I didn't plan to. Will you stop smiling at that man?
My smiles are my own, Mr. Walters, to dispose of in my own way. I shall smile at whom I please. Now he's proposing a toast. How charming. Gilbert, come back here.
My good man, you're entirely too familiar with the lady I'm escorting. In the future, I'd advise you to mind your manners.
Well, if the lady is bored with you and chooses to smile at me, I can't see it's any of your business.
It happens that it is my business. She's going to be my wife.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, Gilbert, why didn't you say so in the first place?
Because you didn't give me a chance. Now will you marry me?
Yes!
Police!
But, Gilbert, don't you realize we're on our way to jail?
Oh, honey, I don't care. What did you say when I asked you to marry me?
You crazy idiot. What do you think I said? Yes. Please, Herbert. They'll put you in a straitjacket.
You let them try. From now on, I'm a changed man. You know that tang of autumn you talked about? Well, I'm just beginning to get the feel of it. Sally.
Oh, Hubert.
And so the curtain falls on the last act of Tang of Autumn, starring Ellen Drew. In just a moment, I'll be back with our star.
And now our producer, C.P. McGregor, returns with the star of our show, Ellen Drew.
Thanks for a nice job, Ellen. And now I think our audience would be interested in the little soft drink and candy shop next to Grauman's Chinese Theater here in Hollywood, and the part it played in getting you started in pictures.
Well, C.P., just for the records, I guess the chocolate sodas we used to mix up were pretty good. At any rate, one day William Demers, the agent, came in and said, "Would you like to be in pictures?" And I said, "Well, I guess so." And the next thing I knew, I had an audition at Paramount and a contract.
And you've done a wonderful job, Ellen, following right in the path of the many famous footprints set in the four-corded Graumans. But now to more recent things. How did it feel crossing the Atlantic in a convoy?
We were attacked by a submarine on the return trip and had to prepare to abandon ship.
How did the people aboard react?
Oh, they were simply great. However, I did one thing I'll never live down. I reached into my bag and took out my lipstick and started to put it on. Everybody howled. I felt so foolish.
How about that?
Then finally, after what seemed like a year, they sounded the whistle that all was clear.
I understand your husband, Major Cy Bartlett, had quite an experience himself.
Yes, I'm very proud of Cy. I guess it's the same pride all wives have with husbands in the service. Cy, you know, was the first American to bomb Berlin.
Yes, and that's one distinction we'd all like to have shared billing on. Well, Ellen, thanks again for giving us such a splendid performance tonight.
I enjoyed every minute of it, C.P., appearing for you and your excellent sponsor. I'll be listening to your show next week. Good night.
Good night, and thank you, Ellen Drew. A word now for the other members of tonight's cast. Howard Duff, Pinky Parker, and Joseph Granby. Until next week, thanks for listening, and here's cheerio from Hollywood.
This program is produced in Hollywood by C.P. McGregor and transcribed for special release at this time.